I had never really gone camping before, so the fact that one of my friends asked me to go with him was amazing in of itself. He made plans for 5 other guys to join us as well. The plan was to leave right after classes on Friday evening and drive up to an old abandoned farmhouse, which in Kansas aren't too uncommon. This one was special though, or so I was told by Riley, my friend that had invited me. He said not only was the house quite large and well held together after many years of vacancy, but very few people knew about it, so we were certain to be unbothered for the weekend. We would stay all day Saturday and come back on Sunday morning. At about 6 p.m., the last guy, Seth I think, finally arrived at the cars. We had a white Suburban from Riley and a small Honda van. 4 people rode in the van, while 3 rode in the Suburban. The Suburban was full of all the junk we had planned to bring. We left around 6:30 and drove for nearly an hour before stopping at some burger place to eat and shift drivers. After another 2 hours drive, we arrived at the farmhouse. The farm area was large, empty, and the fence that used to surround it was in shambles. The house, however, looked very nice, almost kept. After unpacking most of our things and laying out blankets on the bed frames, still in the house, someone suggested we turn in early so we could go fishing in the morning. Not being a late night person, I was fine with the idea, and after some work, I got everyone else to agree with me. There were only 3 beds in each of the 2 rooms, so me, Riley, and some other guy I'd never met shared one room, and 3 other guys shared the other. A guy named Roy decided to take the torn-up couch downstairs. I had a bit of trouble falling asleep, a bit uneasy about the whole drafty, creepy abandoned house thing, but I eventually dozed off, unable to stay awake any longer. I woke up at the sound of Riley moving all his crap around. When I was able to open my eyes enough to see my phone screen with the time on it, it was just after 6:30, so I had to hurry if I wanted to catch anything. I rolled out of my bed, changed as quickly as I possibly could, despite my exhaustion, and grabbed one of the 3 remaining fishing rods. When I got to the pond, Roy, Riley, and 2 other guys were there. I cast my line in and sat silently, waking up with the rest of them. Over the next hour or so, the other 2 people made their way to the pond, and everyone had woken up a bit, and were chatting about their restless nights. "So which one of you idiots decided to come downstairs last night?" Roy shouted over the other voices. I was expecting someone to laugh and give some excuse, but nobody even flinched. "You're not in any trouble, but it was way too dark for me to see your face, whoever it was, so for my curiosity, who the hell was it?" Minutes went by with Roy just staring at our faces for any sign of conceal. I decided to speak up and figure out who it was. "What did they come down for? Did they sleep down there?" "I don't know, they didn't say anything, and I was too tired, I dozed back off." "Well, what did they do?" I asked. "I told you, I was tired. All I know is I saw someone downstairs look at me, and then I fell back asleep." In fear of getting hit, I held back further questions. On the positive note of that, Roy packed up and everyone else followed. Fishing was good, and we had plenty to eat for today and tonight. We walked back to the field in front of the farmhouse, let off our jackets, and ran out again. Roy had dug up an old frisbee, so we divided into 2 teams, quite sloppily, so that there were an uneven 4 against 3. We played for maybe an hour and then switched to baseball. Then some guys started playing poker on the grass, and I sat out. Some dude I'd never met, Joel was his name, I think, came out and sat next to me on the porch steps. "Why didn't anyone wake me up?" he asked, clearly irritated. "I woke up and almost still beat 2 people to fishing, plus you made it anyway," I responded. "I just woke up like half an hour ago," his irritated tone now turning into confusion. "Shut up, you went fishing with us. I know as sure as hell you were playing Ultimate Frisbee with us." My tone was clearly angry. "I'm telling you, I just woke up. I didn't even know you played Frisbee." "Well, there were 7 people fishing, and teams were 4 on..." I stopped dead in my own words. "Did you ever go downstairs last night?" I quickly asked. "No, I was out as soon as I hit the bed. I've been up late the last..." "No." I stood up and started walking away in the middle of his sentence. I counted the people around the yard. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Myself is 7. Out of the corner of my eye I saw a faint shadow near the tree line. But when I turned, the figure had walked off. Wasting no time, I jogged to Roy. "I need to talk to you," trying not to alarm the rest with the news. "Okay, speak." Again wanting to waste no time, I spat it out. "I think there's someone else on this farm." He turned to look me dead in the eyes. He shot up from his seat on the grass and dragged me to the Honda van. "And what are you basing this on?" he questioned. Think about it. Someone came downstairs last night and everyone says it isn't them. So, they could all be lying for some reason. I just talked to Joey. He just woke up. You idiot. There were 7 people fishing. He stopped abruptly. After a long silence, he continued. There was a face I didn't recognize in the group. He scoffed, while staring at nothing. Without a second of hesitation, he climbed in the back of the Honda and emerged again seconds later, with a pistol in his hand. What the hell? Why do you have that? I was afraid this would happen. They're probably thieves, so we need to be careful. Let everyone know what you told me and keep a sharp eye out. They could be dangerous. I walked back and made the announcement and counted heads again. We had 7 people right now. Good. 7 people. With the sun setting and the cold setting in, Roy and a friend of his built a fire in a stone pit that was already built. After cooking some fish and everyone munching silently, Roy grabbed me and led me to the van again. He handed me a 6-pack of beer and carried another in his hands. I'd never drank much, so after a few sips I was done. With the remaining people, they were at various levels of drunkenness. When Joel suggested capture the flag, I headed off to the Suburban and grabbed the flashlights. And when I got back, everyone had lined up. Handing off 1 flashlight to each person, I ran out before the last person. I ran back to the cars and searched for the last one. I know I brought 7. After being unable to find it, and concluding that I had lost it, I walked back to the group. Now I noticed everyone had a flashlight. I looked at the guy that was without one when I left, and I asked him where he got it. Some dude handed it to me, he drunkenly responded. Who? Where did he go? I had a sense of real urgency in my voice. He handed it to me and ran off into the forest. His eyes lit up when he realized what he had said. I told him to keep quiet and stay calm, but before I knew it, we were playing the game, and not even searching for the extra person anyway. It wasn't but a few hours before people started picking off one by one to go to bed. I was next to last to turn in. I didn't even change clothes. I just walked in the room and flopped down on my bed, and before I knew it, I was dead asleep. I had no idea what time it was when I woke up to something dropping on my face. Gazing to the ceiling, I noticed a fine leak. Of course it was pouring outside. I turned to cover up the side of my head, but when I did, I noticed the bedroom door open. There was someone standing there in the doorframe, as if they were walking and shutting the door behind them, but froze mid-motion. Who's there? I shouted it loudly enough to make sure my roommates heard, maybe lingered for 2 seconds before it bolted. I heard thumping on the stairs, then a front door swinging open. I flew out after it in the pouring rain, only to find that I had been far outrun. I headed back in, shivering, not only because of the cold, and bolted the front door shut. Everyone stared at me. Whatever is out there, it's out. So as long as all doors and windows are shut and locked, we're safe. Trying to reassure everyone. I seemed to be the only one capable of speaking. After a few long minutes of thought, me and Roy looked at each other. The back door, we said in complete unison. We ran to the kitchen, but only in time to hear it slam shut. Now we didn't know where it was. It was only a few short seconds of staring when a scream came from the second bedroom upstairs. I was the first one up and froze at the doorway. He was leaning over Joel. He turned, saw me, and lunged out the window. Roy darted past me into Joel, laying lifeless on the bed, blood dripping from his throat. I ran to Seth, who was completely curled up in the corner, still screaming. I finally got him to shut up in time to hear Roy. We need to leave now. No one wasted any time at that, and everyone ran to the vehicle, scattered and frantic. I got in the car, along with Riley and Roy. A scream came from the house, and Roy immediately ran out and back into the house, gun drawn. I scooted to the driver's seat and stared out the window. After minutes, I heard 3 gunshots, and saw someone running right toward the Suburban. I took out my flashlight and shined it to see Roy's pale face and empty hands. I shined the light to reveal a silhouette chasing him, with a gun in one hand. When it saw the light, it turned to me and began running at me. I slammed my foot on the brake and the car ground to speed. After 10 minutes of driving in the dark, rainy fog, me and Riley, now the only ones in the Suburban, we stopped at the freeway. Riley wanted to keep going, but I was driving and elected to wait for 5 minutes for them to come up. Minutes went by, and I grew more anxious, and almost left, just before I saw a pair of headlights in the distance from my mirrors. It was definitely the van speeding right towards us. It kept speeding. It didn't stop. There was a sudden slam, and in my recovery, me and Riley heard the radio kick on. "You better drive." The voice was muffled, distorted. Riley and I screamed together as I stood on the gas. As we drove, the thing was constantly driving right behind us, riding our bumper, waiting for us to stop, a thought which didn't cross my mind until the low gas indicator started going off. "Listen, Riley, here's the plan." I turned anxious for ideas. In a few seconds, I'm going to slam the brake, hold on, but quickly get out of the car and run into the woods. Once we get a safe distance, we'll loop around and get in the van. Then we drive off. Make sense? He nodded quickly, and without a second thought, I pounded my foot on the brakes. We heard skidding behind us before it took us no time to disappear in the forest. After several minutes, we decided it was time to go back, so we circled around and ran back toward the freeway. When we arrived, both vehicles had doors all open, and no sign of the creature that had been chasing us. We got in the van, shut the doors, and began driving, fast, away from this horrible place. An hour into the drive, a new alarm started beeping. I looked at the dash, stopped the car, and froze. Riley was jerked awake and stared at me. What? I turned to him slowly. The trunk is opening. Good night.